Hello, everyone, and welcome back once more. Today, Wendy, what are we going to look at today?
Well, I'm excited about this actually because this morning you said, why don't we explore the nature of your primary soul blueprint reading offering? And
Yeah.
I said, oh, hang on a minute, let me go and dig mine out. So I went into my filing cabinet behind me, put my hand straight on this, realized that it was actually back in 2021 that you did this for me. And a quick flick through this just tells me how amazingly useful I found it. I've annotated it, I've written things in the margin, I've flagged up questions. So I said, oh, yes, this is a very wonderful service that you offer and at a really good value for money. So I can't wait to unpack this and be reminded again of how valuable this was for me. So tell
Yeah.
us about it. What is your primary soul?
Oh, blueprint or Starseed report reading. I think it's up on the website as the Starseed report reading. But the primary soul blueprint, I mean, this is who you are. You've come into this time matrix, into this universe as a newly minted soul in this new universe. And really it's talking about the frequency vibration that you've come in on and your Starseed family of origin, because your soul will have taken up incarnation somewhere within the multidimensional field, somewhere within the expanse of the galaxy on a planet in a star system somewhere. And of course, we have a lot of people on Earth who, their first soul incarnation has been on Earth and their ongoing soul incarnations are on Earth. But at this point in time, we have a huge number of star seeds on the planet because of what's happening. And we've talked about this in various other videos, I think, or maybe I've just been imagining that and I've been doing talks elsewhere. But there's a lot to unpack in why star seeds are here. But star seeds, like earthers, we come in through the veil of forgetting. We come into this planet, we incarnate into physicality on this planet and have to move through the fields that surround this planet, what are called the frequency nets that have been put in place and surround this net. And as it comes in, it mind wipes us. So we have, the same as the earthers, we are birthed with no memory of where we've come from, of our galactic families, and we have to retrieve and our mission here, and we have to retrieve this. And this soul blueprint, this starseed report reading can be very helpful in just nudging you into opening you up at a consciousness level, to reminding you that you are something much bigger than this tiny little body here, and this pure 3D physicality that we are very, very conditioned into believing that's all we are. So I mean, I love doing these readings for people because it is about pushing that door a bit wider. It's about just shifting the narrative forwards, shifting people's understanding forwards, and enabling them to begin to plug in to the larger aspect of who they are, not just this little 3D ego personality here, but into who they are at the soul level, at the monad level and beyond. So yeah, so I mean, they are useful tools.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I love to say is self-awareness sets us free.
Yeah.
And the more we can learn about ourselves. So, this is a prime example, one of these readings, things like human design, astrology, all those types of things that
Yeah.
help us to bring together, like you say, those remnants, those fragments of memory or remembering or just that kind of pull, that yearn to understand the self better.
Yeah.
Every time I find a jigsaw puzzle piece, I
Yeah.
just, oh, great. Yes, that's another version of that thing that I heard over there. That makes an awful lot of sense.
Just
Um,
makes a more complete picture, doesn't it?
it really does. So I've noticed that on the very front page of this soul blueprint reading that you did for me is, my name, my date of birth, and my place of birth.
Yeah.
is it very, very important that people are aware of, well, usually people have their date of birth and where they're born. I can't remember. Do people also need to give you their time of birth? Because that can
No,
sometimes.
no, I mean, astrology needs that and human design needs that, but not this. It's about locating. I mean, I effectively, you know, you can begin to plug into the records, because there are records, there are, you know, records of every single soul held in the higher dimensional fields, into the 5th dimension, the 6th dimension, the 7th dimension. So it's going into those levels, and asking to be shown or shared the information from those levels, whether it be at the level of an individual, in which case the information you've just mentioned is enough to identify that unique individual, or
I see.
you might be you might be getting, you know, race memories, family memories, race memories, or even, you know, galactic histories out of the records. So this is where you go to. It's all held in the field, so it's about knowing how to go in and get them.
So it'd almost be like if you went into a library, you'd need to have the book
Yeah,
and the author's name, and then
yeah,
you give
yeah.
that to the librarian. I can tell how old I am, and they would give you that. That would go. They go and find it and bring it back
Yeah,
out to you.
yeah.
Okay, right.
And some people sort of identify the records as, you know, it's kind of like it is a library, and there's your book, and you go and get your book off the shelf, you know, and put it in front of you and start to leaf through it and read it. I it doesn't work for me in that way. I find that very limiting as a way of going in, but I know some people do use that. But you know, I communicate directly with the fields to identify that soul, and that we have that I've been given permission. First of all, I ask for permission because the person has asked me to do it, but I also, you know, want to ensure that at the greater level I have, you know, it's the right thing for me to do, because just very occasionally, no, this for some reason you get a no, and it's this person, for whatever it is, doesn't need this information in this moment, it wouldn't be helpful to them. So I mean, yeah, it's only happened with me once, and it's like, I mean, it does take, it takes you back when it comes up, but it's okay. There's a bigger thing going on here, and I don't know what it is, and it's not my place to know it. So it's kind of like, if the records say no, it's not appropriate to share this with you at this time, I can come back another time and ask, and it may be a yes. But you know, again, it's respect, and it's behaving with integrity and honor when you approach these fields. And I always check and double check, you know, do I have this soul located with any other living or dead, to make sure that there is no confusion, that you do have the right soul. And I always check as well, that I'm not being sucked into something. Is this a monosoul soul, or is it soul shifting? Because you again, the fallen races can take over and inhabit bodies by various mechanisms and things like that. And are there any blocks to truth with this soul? Is it a changeling soul? You know, there are certain protocols that I sort of go through to check and double check that actually we're talking to clean records.
Oh my goodness. So it's just stop, because this is so, for me, this is just so exciting. I know you and I have had conversations before where I've gone, what, hang on, wait, what's that? So please do give us a little bit more information about some of these types of people that you mentioned. So first of all, what I'd like to say is, I know it's only, I'd like to ask you this question, and I know it's only happened once, but when you get a no to accessing the records, is the person that you then have to go back to and say, I'm sorry, I was unable to access your records, are they freaked out, or do they generally sort of just, how do you handle that? Because that might be quite freaky for somebody who really.
Yeah, and it's you know, at this time, the records are not prepared to open to me and give me that information. I don't know what the reason for that is. But you know, they're a higher, I would bow to the fact that they're a higher intelligence than me, and they see a much bigger picture than I do.
Okay.
And so for whatever reason, it isn't appropriate for you as an individual to have this information at this time.
Yeah.
If you wish me to, I will on a weekly basis go back and check and
Oh, okay.
you know, and there may be a yes further down. It may be that they're at a point in their lives where actually this really isn't appropriate. It wouldn't be helpful, or you know, who knows?
Yeah. Okay.
You know, we've
So
got lots of guesses
yeah.
going on here, but it's just respect what comes back to you.
And so when you had to go back to that one person where you said it happened, were they okay about it? They were just like, oh, okay, fine.
Yeah, well, not quite like that. I was taken aback.
Yeah.
But we talked it through. And of course I don't charge them if that's the case.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So yeah. And
So did you then subsequently with that individual keep checking in, or did they just leave it there?
they just left it. They
Oh,
just
how
left it. Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's good to know, isn't it,
Yeah,
that these things
it
can
is.
happen.
Yeah.
And
As
I
I
just
say,
think
it's incredibly rare, but yeah, if it happens, you know, and also in the kind of what I call the pre-checks, is the soul a positive soul or a negative soul? And things that I won't read for negative souls,
okay, perfect.
you know, and things like that. So, you know, I have my own checks to do as well, that I'm not going to be sucked into some fallen plan to tangle me up in some nasty records, you know, whatever.
Yeah, I love that. So your own, again, your own boundaries, your own personal and
Mm.
professional integrity, your own desire not to get embroiled and entangled with like darker stuff that's
Yeah,
going
yeah,
on. So that's,
yeah.
I love that as a boundary as well as a practitioner. That's really important. Okay,
Mm.
so can I ask you then, what is a soul shifter? You're double checking the nature of the soul. Can you explain to us what a soul shifter is?
Yeah, well, I mean, we do have races that assimilate, fallen races that effectively assimilate other races. And certainly Anunnaki, certainly Draco, certainly Weezer, they have the ability, it's effectively that they're cloned body types, or they're assimilated consciousnesses, and they can move in and out of these bodies. So it's kind of like maybe I mean, you know, it's never happened to me, so I can't tell you. Maybe the original consciousness is in there, tucked away at the back somewhere, and another one steps in and takes over control. Or maybe the original consciousness is just vanquished totally. I really don't know. But there is this ability that some of the fallen races have with certain body templates, and they're usually highly hybridized bodies, or they're, you know, from assimilated races, to do this. So yeah, I mean, it's a check. You just make sure that you're not dealing with a soul shifter,
Wow.
someone who's taken over a body without, you know, the knowledge or permission, or even if it is with the knowledge or permission, you know, it comes back to, is this positive or negative?
So again, Sarah, is that something that's relatively rare in your
Very
experience?
rare.
Yeah.
I'll
Found
be frank with you. I think I think a lot of it is the energy you give out. I don't attract these
yeah.
types.
Yes.
So yeah.
It's a check and balance that you have, but you
Yeah.
haven't stumbled across one of those yet.
No, I haven't.
Perfect.
I
And I
haven't.
think you said
But
something.
I'm not going to take it for granted, because
No. And it's just an important conversation.
you know, my consciousness, my energy field merges briefly, and it is very brief. There is certain information I will go in and get for someone, and then I pull straight back out. I'm not gonna rumble through your records. I'm not gonna rifle through them. And oh, look at this, and oh, you know, they did this, and all. That's not for me. I know there are some practitioners that will go in and say, oh, in a past life you were this and stuff like that. Fine, you know, that's up to them. But I want to help you to understand who you are, who you really are.
Mhm.
and give you that introduction. I think the rest is for you to find out. There will come a point where you will be able to go and do this for yourself.
Beautiful. I love that. So
Yeah.
very empowering and again, very clear. I love working with people whose boundaries and intentions and clarity around who they are as a practitioner is in place. It's very healthy, isn't it, when you work with somebody like that? So you mentioned also changeling souls. What's that?
Well, I mean, I think we're all familiar with the changeling from sort of fairy stories, where you know a Earth baby gets stolen and a fey baby left in its place, as it were. Again, it's an element of the soul shifter.
Okay.
A changeling soul is, again, it's a it's a soul that's been taken over by another,
Okay.
whether willingly or unwillingly. Again,
And I know you and I have talked in the past about walk-ins.
yeah, walk-ins.
Probably, can you identify walk-ins through this process?
Well, walk-ins that are done with permission, and you do get some benign races who come in as walk-ins to deal with something urgent,
Okay.
because the sort of process of incarnating, you know, waiting to wake up and grow up and all of this will take too long. And so maybe, I mean, more often than not, they come in at sudden death, near death experiences.
Okay.
And the soul, the soul is given the choice as to whether they want to come back and allow this other consciousness to reside with them, so that it can fulfill whatever needs to be done, or whether they just want to depart the planet at that point.
Okay. So
So
generally there's an
that's slightly different, and again, I mean, this is not a takeover of consciousness, it's an agreement that's reached between the parties.
okay.
Yeah, so
Okay, got
there's
those.
nothing brutal about it. I can imagine that having you know, having in fact, that's not a lot what a lot of satanic rituals and things are around. It's the kind of the brutalization
Right.
of the individual, so it's so weak that another consciousness can take it over.
Okay, got you. So it's really, really important to be aware of these things. Okay, amazing. So, did you say that there also are blocks to truth? Is that what you're...
Yeah, yeah, and I mean that can, you know, things like is it a changeling, and stuff like that, can sit in that basket. But yes, you know, are there any blocks to truth there? Are there anything that's been placed in the records that have been deliberately been put there to mislead? Have they been interfered with? You know, all of this sort of thing. So, you know, it's a question you ask, and if it's a yes, there are. There's a few things I will go through to see if there's something that can be righted or you know, set right. But if there isn't, and there are blocks to truth, again, it's don't that you can't resolve. It's don't proceed.
Wow, amazing. So that you know that's really very important to understand that all of that has to take place before you're even out of the starting blocks and into the records themselves. So that's fascinating. So once you've waded through all of that, is the journey then quite simple for you? Does it flow quite
Yeah,
nicely
yes,
there?
it does. It does.
And so just give us a bit of an overview then about what that flow of accessing, if you like, of that energy perhaps feels like for you, or what kinds of things you might be able to get. Because presumably looking at your blueprint, there are certain questions that you ask every time. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, there are, and you know, I just have a format I go through. As I say, there are certain questions I ask, certain information I look to retrieve, and once I've done that, usually I place an intention within the records for the person to, and we'll talk about that in a minute. You know, for the person to activate when they reconnect to them. And then I thank you know, I thank and close down the records and detach my consciousness fully from it, because you don't need my imprint in your records, basically. And that's the danger. I mean, some people and I think it's a shame, but they'll ask, maybe they'll ask a practitioner for a reading, for whatever it is, it doesn't satisfy something. I had this with someone, and it was very ego based. It didn't I didn't tell her what she wanted to hear. And she'd been to several other practitioners who also hadn't told her what she wanted to hear. So she had a very ego-based requirement for what she wanted to be told, and she wasn't open to what was there. But what happens is the more people you have rifling around in your records, it's like, you know, if you think of a file in a filing cabinet and somebody keeps getting it out and flicking through it, all the papers get disordered and messed up and things like that. I mean, it becomes difficult to actually sort out what goes where and things like that, because, you know, a lot of souls, you originate somewhere. Say you came in and you incarnated in 60 Sirius. Now you might have, you know, moved, you know, gone and visited the Pleiades at some point, and you might have disappeared off to, I don't know, somewhere in Orion at some point, and then you might have, you know, sort of taken various trips about. All of that's in your records. So if somebody goes in and they whip out the first page, then you're left only looking at, oh well, you know, Orion's coming up, it must be Orion. Well, no, it wasn't Orion, it was really Sirius, but actually that's all been messed about with. So you need to be careful and respectful of your own records, and you know, if you don't trust a practitioner to give you the truth, why are you using them?
Well, like you
They're
said,
not telling you what you hear. You need to look at yourself and say, why is this not landing with me? What is it I wanted to hear that my ego doesn't like about this?
yeah, that's really fascinating to me. I don't know your client, obviously, and you would never discuss confidential information with, but I'm imagining that, let's say, for example, that somebody is I don't know, maybe they're using light language or something, and so they have an attachment to an idea that they came from a particular place, perhaps. Is that the sort of thing where ego might get involved? And then
It is, and also someone who's very emotionally needy. They haven't done their own inner work, or you know, I mean, we've all got inner work to do, but you need a certain level. You need to have, you know, begun to address your shadow body, begun to address your pain body, be genuinely a genuine seeker around who am I really, you know, beginning to peel off the overlays and the facades to get to the truth of who you really are.
yeah, rather than having a preset notion about, well, I'd ideally like it if I was this, because I think there are
it's you know, it's a sign in some respects of and you know, I'm not trying to be judgmental here, but emotional immaturity, and we've all come from that place.
yes, I
We've
love
all
that.
come from that place. But you know, it's, if you want one of these readings, be genuine about it. Don't have, you know, preconceptions about what you want it to tell you, and if it doesn't tell you that, then you're not satisfied and you're going to try somebody else until you get the answer you want. I mean, it's nuts.
Well, what I'm looking at here is the very first page, and the very first page tells me my primary blueprint energy center, and it's one of 8.
Yeah.
Now, I'm looking at the 8 and I'm thinking, well, there's nothing there that I wouldn't not want to be, if that makes sense. Everything is favorable. There's nothing that I think, oh God,
Yeah.
I'm not one
Well,
of those.
you know, the energy center, or frequency. You know, some people talk about rays, but that really comes from some fallen teachings. But you know, everything in this universe is frequency. It's sound, it's vibration, it's color, which is light, which is frequency. You know, and we birth in that there's this whole spectrum of frequencies. Now, up until recently, it's been 8. This last year, there's a 9th one coming in.
Oh,
Which is
really?
yeah, it's been fascinating to me. I mean, I've noticed the free. I actually just wrote a little bit about it, what little I could glean of it, in the Understanding Starseeds book that I put out, because it was literally just beginning to come through at that point. but there is a ninth one, and again, it's a sign of the expanding frequencies that we have access to.
And what is it? I'm dying to know.
It's divine guardianship.
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
yummy.
yeah.
Okay, so I mean, people are going to be champing at the bit here to know what they are. So let me just read them out, because they all are yummy and beautiful. So we've got divine compassion, divine manifestation, divine order, divine love, divine self-expression, divine truth, divine power, and divine wisdom. And now you're saying that we've got divine guardianship as well.
Yeah. So yeah, the guardian is the protector. Yeah.
So if you take a reading up with Sarah, you're going to be told which of those is your
it's primary, and this is important because all of us encompass it. I mean, you got to think of it like a great, big pie chart, and all of us have all of those frequencies within us, but one of them is going to have a bigger chunk, and it's usually 30 to 40% of our energy is expressed on that frequency wave.
Okay,
But sometimes you get two primary frequencies, so you'll have two of them that are, so if it's like 34% this and 36% that, you look at that as being two primary frequencies, but usually it's just one. I mean, in the book, I go through all of the frequencies, but obviously in the reading, we talk to the primary one. And there are certain, I mean, it really talks about who you are at a soul level, at a very, very innate level. And these will be things that you utterly take for granted about yourself. These are gifts, magnificent gifts and skills that you have that you probably won't rate because they are so much a part of you, you don't even think about it. So it can be very helpful to have a heads up about it.
Well, I can't tell you how much I giggled when I got the reading from you, because I mean, it almost was kind of like, well, obviously that,
Yeah.
And it was I thought maybe that's where the ego comes in, and you kind of wish that you were something else because it's so obvious to you that you're So this will make people giggle. I am the Blueprint Energy Center of Divine Wisdom, and it made me giggle because I have an essence practice that's the wisdom of nature. I have a card deck called the Wisdom of Change.
Yeah. You can't make it up, can you?
My girlfriend, and this was all there, and then of course you come up with, well, your energy center, your primary energy center is divine wisdom, and I was just like, that's so funny. So you get this kind of triangulation thing going on as you step into this journey and realize that oh, that's really just like another validation, another underlining that yes, that is truly who I am. So
I very rarely find that people are surprised at that level.
Really,
it's kind of like, well, actually, now you've said it, I kind of know it.
Yeah, and
but it needed someone to point it out to
become
obvious.
Very empowering. So just to finish, because I know, because we've run over, of course we have, it's you and I. But just to sort of say, this is a beautifully laid out report. It's got some lovely illustrations. And what I like about what you do is you give us the information about who we are, but you also give us a little bit of background as to what you're talking about, which is quite nice, because then that can allow you to really kind of tune in at the level of your own reading. It isn't just like dropping you in and you think, what the heck's she talking about? I don't get it. There is a sort of preamble to each of the sections. And I mean, this report is, just to give people an idea of what you would potentially be signing up to receive. This is a 12-page report. Okay.
Yeah, they tend to be longer these days, I have to say, because the more it goes on, the more, because the next part of the report is what's called your soul group or your star family. It's your star family of origin. So, the more I interact, the more understanding I have about what a Sirian starseed is and things like that. And the information is about, how does the Sirian starseed express itself on planet Earth? It's not about, oh, you were a blue being from somewhere else, and blah, 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 blah. And it's about, how does that express itself on planet Earth?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, very.
And what are I mean, there are certain characteristics each star group brings in. Yes. Characteristic of their race, as it were. and you know, some carry race woundings as well. Mintakans carry race woundings. Hadarians do. There are, you know, there are these galactic wars have been going on a long time, and you know, a lot of races are yeah, have wounds. But that doesn't stop them coming to our, you know, to help here. So God bless them all, as it were. So yeah, that's the next bit. And you know, the bit that most people don't see is, I also ask within that, is there a soul overtone, which really is you can originate in one place. So you know, your soul originates in this time matrix in one place, but much like, I mean, I've got, you know, plenty of friends here who were born in, say, Germany, but have lived the best part of their life in Britain. You know, again, that can happen. So that's, you know, we look at it, is there a soul overtone? Were you born in one place, but have you spent a lot of your eternal life, as it were, in another star system that's not of your origin? And then I also ask, is there a soul underlay? And that can be, I mean, I was born in the UK. At 2 months old, I was whipped abroad, and I spent the next 12 years of my life abroad. So that had a big imprint on me as I was growing up, and that's the soul underlay. Did the soul move on very quickly to another system where it will have absorbed characteristics of that system along with its home system?
Mm-hmm.
And possibly, you know, identifies more. So, you know, if somebody's born in the UK, but they're brought up, they're taken as a baby over to the States and brought up in the States and have always lived in the States, they'll be more American than they will British.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, I give where that happens, I give information on both of the star families, so someone can look at them and begin to see, that's
Origin and influence, almost.
Yeah.
The two, isn't it? Which
Yeah.
again just gives you that. For me, these things just give me that deep sense of profound inner knowing and self-awareness, and it really is. It's a lovely grounding feeling, because the more we know about ourselves, the more it sets us free.
Yes, absolutely.
Sarah, this has been such a fascinating conversation, and it's reminded me to go over this again. It sounds like I perhaps need an upgrade to my own reading.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit more information above and beyond those two things there, but yeah, that's yeah.
Anything that you want to add before we start?
Yeah, let's just talk about the God spark, because I mean, we all have a God spark. I check in on your God spark, and your God spark is your connection to source. Now, you know, you're a positive soul. I know you have that connection to source. Otherwise I wouldn't be doing the reading for you. But I check to see if there's God spark damage, and there always is, because we're here in deep density, down in 3D. And our connection to source gets beaten and battered. It's like a badly tuned, you know, I describe it like a badly tuned radio. And I do set an intention for that to be healed and cleared up, for you to activate within your records. But there is something called a secondary God spark, or the potential for a secondary God spark that some souls have. So I check, is there a secondary God spark? I.e., has a secondary God spark been activated, and if so, where? Or is there candidacy for a secondary God spark? And a secondary God spark is effectively more energy. It connects into the upper chakras, so from chakra 4 upwards. So it may be a secondary God spark at the heart, or it may be a secondary God spark at the third eye. And what that is that effectively this soul has come in with a mission, and that mission, should they choose to accept it, because I mean, it's free will. You can say no. You know, it may be that life is, you've had such a difficult life, you've been sabotaged, beaten up, you're tired, and along comes this moment of you stepping up to what really you were born here for, and it's like, I can't do it. I just don't have the inner resources left. In which case, the second God spark won't activate. But if you're like, whatever, bring it on, you know, I'm up for this, go for it. The secondary God spark will activate at that particular chakra to give you extra resources. So it's like extra power put into everything that chakra stands for, you know, and we have very simplistic, I've put a little explanation in the thing about the chakra, but, you know, go to, you know, the book I've written on chakras, Complete Chakras, goes into a lot of detail about what each of these chakras really mean to us, and the the kind of life issues and energies that these chakras are really dealing with. And you'll find a big clue to your mission within that, your potential mission within that. So I just love it. I don't find secondary God sparks that often, but I love it when I do. I was told many years ago I had a secondary God spark. And it's well activated now, but at the time I was told two things when I first had this reading done many years ago. There were two things that stood out for me. One was you've got seer energy, SEER.
Yeah.
I was like, no, you know. And the other was I got this secondary God spark at the crown, and I was like, Christ, I don't want that, you know. The crown, can you think on I don't want that responsibility, and it's you know, as time's gone on, it's just kind of been like, yeah, whatever, okay. But at the time, it just seemed too much. You know, it was I
I think
found that
that's
information
it.
almost overpowering. But you know, I adjusted to it, and then having adjusted to it, it was like, yeah, I can do this. I know I can do
The
this
infamous words of
because
Mary.
I've got the resources.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's our light that we fear, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. I mean, that summed it up beautifully. It was kind of like, oh, I mean, you know, I was extremely shy. I still am. You know, I like my ivory tower, leave me alone, you know, let me do my research and things like this. I find it quite hard to be very public and stuff like this. Um, yeah, and it's kind of like, this is pushing me. It's pushing me to a place I'm uncomfortable with. But hey, isn't that what life's about?
Well, I think so.
Yeah.
I think the people that listen to these kinds of, recordings and are on this sort of journey, they are the same. It's, we've said it time and time again, haven't we, that this isn't for
Mm.
everybody.
Yeah.
If it is for you, then it is the difference that makes the difference. It is, it becomes the reason why you are alive. That the seeking becomes part of the purpose and the mission. And
Yeah.
that's where it really gets fun and adventurous, and then you find your like-minded people on your path and you're away. So Sarah, thank you. Is there anything else that you want to say about the soul blueprint before we finish the recording?
No, I just very briefly, you know, well, I'll look at your soul's vibrational rate, and that's looking at this kind of dimensional bands up to the sixth dimensional. I mean, most people who come to me are well into fifth dimensional consciousness, so it's looking at where you're at within that. We look at what are called spheres of protection, which are effectively how strong that your kind of light body, shall we say, shell is. Think of it like, you know, you've got a shell protecting you, and if it's very thin and very fragile, then you know, things can get through it, can penetrate through it quite easily. But the stronger it is, the more sustainable, you know, the more bulletproof you are. You're Teflon coated, as it were, and the slings and arrows of, you know, outrageous fallen consciousness just bounce off.
I love that.
So we look at that because it's just worth understanding, I think, that element of it, and also look at something called white lights, which is how really fundamentally it's how well you work with the power of intention. We are co-creative beings. We are here to manifest. We are here to create. Now, our understanding of that has been very diminished. You know, some of it's coming back with things around the law of attraction and stuff like that, but even that is so messed about with. But, you know, responsible co-creation is what we're here for. And we use our will. We use our source connection. We use the power of intention to bring that through. And again, it's just an understanding of where we are at that. And most of us, most of us are, you know, sort of very poor at that because we've deliberately been taken away from that.
Absolutely. And what is the sort of the scale, if you like, of the vibrational rate? Is it quite a big scale, or is it
Well, at the moment, it runs up to the sixth. You know, it's on a scale of 1 to 6, up to the 6th level of dimension of consciousness, you might say. I'm going to have to expand that because I've got people knocking on the, you know, coming to me, knocking on the door of 6. You know, I'm seeing a lot of people now, 5.7. So I'm, you know, is talking about the subharmonics, 5.7, 5.8, 5.9. You know, they're moving into the 6th dimension. Will be opening up that level of consciousness and beyond. So, you know, I will, yeah, I mean, that's moving, much like, as I say, that you know, the energy centers are beginning to expand slightly.
I love that.
And that was the other thing. Secondary God spark, I talked about them just being within the upper chakras, the personal chakras ending at the crown. I had somebody a couple of weeks ago who had a secondary God spark. First time I've ever seen this secondary God spark in one of the transpersonal chakras at chakra 8. I think that's so exciting. It's so exciting. I get a whole new level of things opening up.
Wow, that sounds extraordinary. I mean, if that doesn't whet your appetite to go and have a oh, well, and thank you for reminding me that I have it. I'm going to really go through mine again, read all my own annotations, and then I think I will be investing in an upgrade with you.
I love sharing it. So anytime.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
A pleasure. And I hope you've all found that interesting. If you do, like, subscribe, all of those things, and we'll see you again. Bye.
And Sarah, are you able to put the link to your soul blueprint readings underneath, or is that?
Oh, that would be a good idea, wouldn't it? Yes, I'll do that for you. So hopefully it would just take you straight to the page on the website. But Starseed report on the website finds it.
Good job. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.